So let's var dump the comments that pull from that SQL query and see what is going on here. So after the message, the first message, in that loop after I printed the message itself, this is where I'm var dumping the comments. So for my first message, I retrieved one record back for a comment. This comment retrieved back the ID of the comment, the content of the comment, the name of the user, and the created at null, because we specified comment, but I never did the update for the comments created at, which we could do that real quick. So update comments, set created update ads, where comments.id equals to 1, 2. There it is. Now we got the date also on there. So I know that my comments record var dump is yeah, actually it prints twice, right? It prints for the first message. Let me back up. Let me kind of add one more comment. I think it'll make sense if I add another one here. User number 2 wrote message ID number 1. This is another comment from second user on the first comment.
So it auto-incremented that time.
Right.
Weird.
Maybe because the first one needs to be set, perhaps. I don't know. Just guessing. That's what I wanted to show. I pulled this. So this is a major loop, right? That's looping. Each one of actually starts from here. Whoops. Great. Starts from here and ends here. That's an entire loop for messages. Inside of this loop for messages, there's a secondary loop that starts from here and it ran once, twice, and ends there, right? So there's a loop nested inside of a loop here. The very major loop is pulling up all the messages, which is repeating this as many times as I have messages available. 5 times 5 messages. Inside of this first message loop, I am calling to pull how many records do I have that are comments that are actually belonging into the first message. That's what I'm pulling. In the database, I put 2 comments that both belong to the first message. So this brought me back 2 comments. Does that make sense? Down here, I did the same thing with the exception that the where statement was checking to see wherever the comments belong to the second message. And there was only one in the database. That was a comment that belonged to the second message. And that's why I pulled it up 1 here. The third one had no comments that belonged to that message. And the fourth one, the fourth message, had also no comments that belonged to it. So it pulled no queries. But notice that the SQL query ran 1 time to pull all the messages, and then it ran 1, 2, 3, 4 times to pull up all the comments for the 4 different messages. So I did put a SQL query that runs in a loop, which means it ran 4 times. And that's why it was unique each time, because each time it ran, this part here was 1, and then it was 2, and then it was 3, and then it was 4. And it ran those 4 queries, and that's why we have this working like so. So since now it's working, and I know that I can just call on the, let's look at this one, this is cleaner. The ID, the content, the name, and created at, I can just start printing them here. This is the comment made by the comment, whoops, name. That's the person that commented, that printed this name. I'm going to copy this and make it a little faster here. This is the content, and this is the created at. And then this thing here is just there to print comments, right? So not to worry about that. Let's refresh, and there it is. We have messages, and inside the message we have comment. Ooh, we have no comments. No, where'd the loop go? There's the first for each loop. Oh, I never made a second. Yeah, we never made a second for each loop. That's great. For each of comments as comment, right? That's our second for each loop. That's going to end here. And since this needs to be tabbed over, this stuff is inside of for each loop, so these things need to be tabbed over. This empty space needs to go. These things need to be tabbed over to this here. The for each loop needs to be tabbed over also. Let's see now. There we go. These two comments belong to the first message, so there they are. This comment belongs to the second message, and there is no comments for the third or fourth message. %90 there. All we need to do is just do two things. Identify how the submit button is going to post, what kind of data we need to take to the process page, what to do with the data, and then redirect them back to this. That's it. This part is very simple. Any questions so far? Well, there's probably a few, but yeah, many, yeah. Okay, so let's post a message. In the very beginning here, we have here a text area for messages being posted to the process page. Do we need any more information? And how do you answer that question? You look at the database and you look at your messages table and you say, if I'm going to send in another record for the person that's currently logged in, what information do I need to send to my database? User ID, content, and now can be generated from database. Yeah, but now has to be sent exactly. Exactly. So here we have content. We need the user ID, right? Which I think makes more sense if I just put here a type hidden, name ID, or perhaps even user ID to be more specific. Value, print in here the user's ID value. What is the user's ID value? It's in session under user, under ID, right? So that should print me the ID of the current user logged in, right? Let's test this because we don't know. If I go here, refresh the page, all I gotta do here is right click, inspect element, and look at the form. There it is, in hidden input value 1, because I am user number 1 logged in. Now, this is vulnerable because somebody can go here and say, you know what, I am actually user number 2, and I send a message of something very bad. And now I blame it on user number 2 that did it. And the computer never knows any better than that. So we'll talk about that in a second. But all you have to do is really just pass a hidden input that passes the user ID and give it a name. So now I know that when this form posts to process was not found in the database because I don't have a .php here. It's not doing anything because it's not hitting any if statements for that form that's being posting to it. So let's do that real quick. I'm posting this form to my process page. There's my process page right here. Here's the login. Here's the registration. I'm going to do another else if, whoops. And this one is going to be post message. What do you guys want to call it? Message post, whatever. Post message. So we're not going to just assume that this is working. We're going to var dump post and then die here in message post. I'm going to go over here, back, refresh this page, create a message, submit, nothing. Why? Those hidden inputs. I was looking for it, but I never actually typed in. I a name of action, the value of post message. We need that there. That's my catch. Thank you. Go back, refresh this page, type something in, submit, and there it is. That's what I'm posting to it. I'm posting a action, user ID, content. Excellent. So if I'm posting that and it's getting to here, we just need to create a query that's set to insert into messages. Oh yeah, the values, which is message ID. No, actually it's user ID. We need the user ID, we need the content. And we don't have to guess. I'm not doing that right by guessing. Here it is, user ID, content, and created at, because it's creating it. And updated at. The values of the content I'm posting to it. Well, since I know that I'm posting this, I can just call the post of action, the post of, I don't need action, but user ID, content, and then do the nows for the created at and updated at. Does that part make sense? So the values are going to be the post. Again, the value is going to be a string. And inside the string, we need the escape characters for the post of user ID. User ID, no, content created at, updated at. User ID, content created at, updated at, semicolon, like I usually forget. And now we need to run the query. We just got to look at connection, and it is use this query to run the insert delete. So run SQL query. And does that return anything? It does. So this explains it. We don't need it right now, but if we need it to know what ID we just put in the database, the return statements brings back the ID of that new record. So if this is the brand new record called ID number 538, and I needed that 538, I could retrieve it. It's for Ajax. We'll need it later, but we don't need it right now. So all I gotta do is this, and that should work. After it's done doing this, we need to do what? Send it back to location wall.php and exit right afterwards. Any questions? Let's go back, refresh. Oh, we have a DAG statement here. Let's see if this works. I'm kind of skipping a step by not testing it. I had, and since we're doing header redirects, we can't do var dump. Oh, there it is. That's first new message. So now this is another message working. There we go. Where is it? Oh. You have to refresh? No. Ooh, maybe. Didn't that just work? Oh, you refreshed.
Yeah, you redirected to it.
So how do we troubleshoot this?
You can check your database first.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let's check the database. One went in, the other one's
Yeah,
not.
we saw one over
How do we check it? How do we test it?
Can you copy the?
There we go. Exactly.
But you gotta.
You have to echo it because you have to see how the variables translate.
Yeah.
But yes, 100% right. Let's go here, refresh the page, do something here, submit, insert into messages the user ID, content created, updated at values. Value now. Let's see. Error, duplicate entry 0 for key primary.
Did you delete a record out of there manually? Yeah,
No, what the heck is that? Let's see.
What does it say?
Is it because you have like two user IDs again, or you didn't specify which user ID you want?
Are we posting user ID from? Let's see.
Isn't that value in the session?
Yeah. Because you threw everything from your post into session.
I'm posting on it user ID though. There it is. User ID content, created at, updated at, insert into messages. What's wrong with this?
What's the actual error?
Duplicate entry 0 for key primary.
Oh, is it not auto implementing?
Nope, it's not. Well done.
God, these low key problems.
Jamie, you may lose this one. I don't know.
He definitely gets an honorable mention.
Was
For sure.
an error applying SQL script to database.
Wouldn't that one need to be auto-commit also?
Yeah, I think SQL is just being. So how's everyone's day going? All right, let's figure this out. Wow, look at that. That's definitely goes to show that if you do it right the first time, you never have to go back for this kind of stuff. Oh, wow. We had a 0 inside a database, so then when you try to create an auto increment on it, it wouldn't because you already had a 0 in the database.
How did you get a 0 there?
When I added that record, it wasn't auto incrementing, so it just went straight
Because
to.
you had deleted, the very first one.
Yeah, wow, look at that. That whole thing just broke everything. Okay, cool. So we're back at it. So that should have just added another message. Well, let's not do the dying things anymore. Now it will add a message. There it is. Add signs. There it is. More text.
And then do it in descending order. You just put ESC at the very end of your query.
Yeah, perfect. That's actually really the way to do it, the easiest way to do it.
It's only getting it properly now because they happen to be in that order, right?
Yeah,
Like, because you're adding them in, every date's
right,
gonna go up.
right. And then for comments, we have to do the opposite, I think. So
Yeah, it's descending from messages and ascending.
order by comments not created at descending.
It's messages descending, comments ascending.
Cool, there we go. 52, 53. Yep. Excellent. So we have one more thing to do. We are adding messages where we need to add comments. This is really just a copy paste. We put on here post comment. What else do we need in comments besides the content?
Message ID.
Sorry?
Message ID?
Exactly. Message ID. What's the value going to be?
Wait, so this is coming back from, you're putting in a comment, right? So it's going to process as a comment first. So,
So the comment, we need message ID, but how do we print the message ID? It was under content, comment, right? the comment inside of it has the, actually, I'm sorry, it's not inside of comment. It's inside a bigger loop. It's inside of a message. This is a large loop that encapsulates all of this, right? So message ID should give me the message of that comment. Whoa. So if I do here message ID, let me pull this away so maybe you guys can see this. So this for loop starts and ends here, right? So then our message variable is alive throughout that for loop, correct? And message has in it an ID and content and a bunch of other things for messages, right? But for each message in messages, it's going through a loop. So down here, when I need to make sure to tell them that I'm posting this comment for this particular message, I could just pass in a hidden value for message ID and call on the message variable for this instance of the loop for the message and call on that message ID. So in this case, the first loop message is going to be ID of 1, the second loop message ID of 2, 3, 4. Does that make sense? So let's just test this. If I refresh this, if I go to a comment and right-click, inspect element, have the message ID of 1 here. But if I go to the next for loop and look at this comment now, we should be looking at the message ID of 2. If I go to the third loop or fourth loop even, I should be looking at message ID of 5, because that's the fifth loop. That's the fifth, not loop, but this is the fifth message in the messages we pull from the database the very first time. So what to understand is this large loop that started from here and ends here, the message variable that is an associative array, I can call on its keys anywhere inside of this large loop, even inside of another for loop here that's nested. And that's what I'm doing. I'm not calling quite in here, but I'm calling it right here. So I need the message ID, right? Let's go back to the database. For comments, we need the user ID, message ID, content, and created ads, correct? We don't have the user ID, which is really, it's a copy paste from here. We're going to take the same thing from the session. Cool. User ID, message ID, content, and what else? That's it. Create an updated ad. It's going to be generated in our process page. So let's make sure this is going to our process page. Update that, and then we're done. So in our process page, under comments, comments. First of all, let's die here. We can't just assume things. And let's var dump the post content there. Submit. Whoa. Process was not found. That is because I'm not using the right process.php. I did this mistake. Submit. Action, post comment, great. Message ID 5, user ID 1, because I'm the person logged in, and the content, whatever I just typed in. Awesome. So insert into, in this case, comments. I want the user ID, I want the content, I want the created ad, updated ad, but I also want what else? Which one is it first? Is it message ID or user ID and then message ID? User ID, message ID. And the values will be the post of user ID. The message ID is also the post of message ID, right? Because these things are being posted from the form, right? We still have the content posting, created ad, and update that. Sorry, this is a little small in size there. So let's see. We should probably get rid of these two. Okay, this is a new message. That prints a message at the very bottom here. This is a new message. This is.
Are you commenting on a comment at that point?
No, I just created a new message from the very top, just a fresh new message, and now I'm going to comment on that fresh new message.
So these are all fresh messages. And if it has
Yeah.
a comment section, it's fresh.
Yeah, and there it is. Second moment. I don't know what that means, but there it is. Oh, there on the other in the pop-up message. There we go.
When would you, or would you unset the post variables? Would you bother?
The post variables are automatically unset, but in the moment you leave that page. So since I'm only posting to my process page, anytime I redirect away from the process page, post variables are dead. They're not available anymore. So no to worry. I have to be careful of when I session destroy, because if I session destroy, my user ID that's sessioned is gone, which means I don't know which user where it is now. So if I create a logout button, it'll be very simple. It's just somewhere over here. We do an else if, post of action, and action is logout. Session destroy. Yeah. Index.php. That's it. That's it. And in the very top here, somewhere where we want to log out, we're going to create a form, method post, action, process.php, and in it we need input type submit, input type hidden, name action, value logout. And this value,
You can't give that to the form itself. Instead of using a input, you can't give the form a name or something along those lines.
no, not that I know of.
That just won't work.
Yeah, not that I know of. So log out, log me out. Now, if I go back, welcome user, there's no content of the user, so you're not kind of logged in. So if you try to submit, I think it just keeps not submitting because it keeps failing is what it keeps doing, I think.
Yeah, it's just redirecting you back.
Yeah, it's not actually submitting anything.
Now, if you wanted to delete a message, not a comment, a message, from the database, you would first have to delete all the comments, then the message, right?
Oh, if you want to delete a message, exactly. You would write, so if I found a message here and I click delete, whoops, here, then I would go to process, and then I would say, find all the comments, just like you said, find all the comments where their message ID is equal to this, and delete them all. I should say delete all
You have to do
where,
2 queries.
exactly.
If you didn't do that, you just have a bunch of orphan records that just are in the database taking up space.
Yeah.
every usage.
That's why the foreign key restrictions are there for this purpose. Yeah. So if you do it without foreign keys, you have to make sure it's 100%. Because then you have like, I don't know if it's called memory leak, but that's what comes in my
Your database
mind.
will just keep growing.
Exactly. And you'll never, hopefully somebody will catch it, but then how, then
You're
you
not
have
gonna
to,
be able to assign it to anything.
yeah, and then you have to find which ones are not assigned, and I'm sure you could do it, but that's just bad design. Yeah. It's a little bit of a lot, but if you take this, let me just stop the video.